the Buffalo Sabres win a hockey game, having recorded 0 shots on goal in an entire period, in the third period. Sabres win 4-2 off the Ryan McLeod hat trick. They just re-awarded it to him per Mike Harrington.
But then they took it away again. So
Mike Harrington, he literally just tweeted that they gave it back to him.
Then I saw again that they put it back to Tage. I've been trying to follow it for the past 10 minutes because before the third period, I bet $1 at plus 1,400 for Ryan McLeod to score a hat trick. And now I have no idea what's going to happen. Currently, on the ESPN app, it is showing as Tage Thompson's goal. So,
okay, I'm looking right now at Harrington's very last tweet, which was 5 minutes ago. NHL has now changed it back to McLeod, so hat trick is back.
I saw that it was McLeod's. They changed it to Tage. They changed it back to McLeod. And then I saw someone say they changed it back to Tage. So
I think it's McLeod. I mean, I'm going to go off our boy Mike Harrington, and I'm going to say it was a McLeod hat trick.
I sure hope so, because I need that $14.
You need it. You're desperate to get a $14.
I mean, can't hurt.
That's true. I can't. And he does it having only taken 2 shots on net, because I would be interested to know if that has ever happened in NHL history.
Probably not.
That might
also
be
a team to score a goal without recording any shots on net. It's like Josh Allen catching a touchdown pass without actually
That's a good example.
Without getting a reception. It's actually pretty similar, I think. Aside from the assault by Brent Burns. Oh my God.
Oh my God, yeah.
Lumberjack, tomahawk, chalk. I respect the effort in that situation, I guess, but yeah, that's ridiculous. But they held on.
They won a hockey game.
They barely held on.
All that matters to me is they went out there and they won a hockey game. Even though I know we do our little intermission reports in between periods. I go live. I actually went live from my bed because I just did not feel like getting up, and I was in bed with both dogs, so they made a guest appearance. Shout out Dom and Daisy in there. But I said, like, you have to get this game in the garage. Do not make it interesting. Do not play on your heels. Do not play timid. Just play the same 2 periods you just played. Just play that brand of hockey, and you'll win this game. You score a late second period goal to go up 3-0. We know how much of a momentum shift goals like that can be, especially as goalies. We know what they can do to a goalie psyche, to a team psyche. Just, you got to imagine that. But again, that's a very well coached team, Sue. So you have to know that they're not going to come out and just be down on themselves and allow momentum to shift in Buffalo's direction. They were going to take the play to us, but I definitely wasn't expecting a period where we recorded 0 shots on net. And the closest thing we came to a shot on net was Tage Thompson's post on an empty net. But I just happy they were able to get that in the garage. But had to find a way to keep it interesting. But to your point, to your tweet before the game, you cannot lose to Dustin Tokarski.
That would have been pretty backbreaking, to say the least, given that
oh my God,
he effectively was just a stopgap for a couple of years. Just watching him play, like, I'm really confused at how he's an NHL goalie. It doesn't seem like he moves that well, but his positioning, I guess, aside from the McLeod and Cousins goals, I think his positioning is generally good enough that he's able to survive, especially on like as good of a defensive team as Carolina. And I do remember a few games he played for the Sabres where I was like, okay, this guy battles. Like, he's not necessarily the most technically sound goalie, but he at least like generally gets the job done. But just watching him, it's just so insane to me that he has played this long at this high of a level. But good for him. I think he's a really good locker room guy and a super nice guy from what I hear. So I respect anybody that's made it to that level and has played as many games as he has. But scoring the goals, as we said, early and often was absolutely necessary, as we've seen this team crumble as they did in the third period. It's as if they're just content with just floating around the defensive zone, not attacking the puck, just waiting for the other team to just pass it around the perimeter. Yep. And then when it gets to the front of the net, they just panic. Obviously, the second goal is a power play goal. Really, really nice shot from Natchez. But the first goal that was scored is a good example of what can happen if you're just content to passively play in your own zone and not work to get the puck out. It was a bad bounce. I don't think Luukkonen saw it. It could have been tipped by Benson. It could have been a bad bounce off the ice. But that's an example of what can happen. And it did. And they almost lost the game because of it. So it's really, really disappointing and obviously concerning and not something we've seen many times this season.
No. And how concerned, I mean, we're last in the NHL, so I can't even sit here and I can't even take myself seriously asking this question, but like, how concerned are we with that performance in the third period? Like, there's so much more other things to be more concerned about with this hockey team.
I mean, on the ice, it's an example of who they are.
Yeah.
They panic in big moments. They have all year long. They have no confidence whatsoever, aside from when they compete and are better than some of the best teams in the league for 66% of the game. It just doesn't make sense to me that they, for some reason, are so scared of losing and succumbing to these 2 to 3 goal leads in the forecheck from the opposing team that they just forget how to play a good brand of hockey. I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know if it's inexperience. They've said they can't use that excuse anymore. But even Cousins after the game, he was like, of course, we had to make it close and had to make it nerve-wracking. If you yourselves know that this is a problem, how could you not be the ones to actively just try to do something else to fix it? It's not even like they were trying to take chances in the third period. Like, of course, you don't want to be irresponsible, but you have to be at least in the neutral zone, which they weren't for 85%.
They gave up the neutral zone like a $2 whore, man. Like, it was bad. And I'm like sitting there watching. I'm like, are they going to step up on anybody? Like, on anybody? Like, are they just going to literally just let them gain the zone every single time? And they did it with ease, man. They did it with ease at even strength when they pulled the goalie with 3 minutes and 33 seconds left. Like there was just no pushback from Buffalo. They were just content on just, let's try as hard as we can, depend on UPL, who played outstanding, to get this one in the garage for us. And make no mistake about it, if that was any other goaltender in net for Carolina, the Buffalo Sabres do not win this hockey game.
Most likely
do not win this hockey game.
Especially Kochetev.
Yeah.
I have him as one of my fantasy goalies. He hasn't been super good recently, but his highest level is probably a top 10, top 15 goalie in the league. So, yeah, that could have been really bad. And another back-breaking loss. Thank God for UPL. He is basically, aside from McLeod, the sole reason they won the game tonight. He stood on his head for much of the game. Point-blank chances right in front of the net, especially in the third period. From Aho specifically, he played his best brand of hockey, which he's done many times this season, and it's super disappointing that they're wasting performances like this more often than not. Thankfully, as you said, they were able to get enough to bring it home, but it was not as it was way closer than it needed to be. That's for sure.
From Paul Durka, Captain Darlene was awful the whole game. Third period, I think he gave the puck away. Like, I did notice that a couple unnecessary passes, forced passes from Darlene, turnovers, very uncharacteristic of him. Definitely didn't help at all. But that could be said about a lot of guys on this team. I will say that Dylan Cousins' goal was awesome. He created the turnover, stuck with the play, took a beautiful pass from Tuck, and then again, it's Dustin Tokarski. It might as well be me or you in net there.
I wouldn't say that, but I do think it was a pretty good shot. I really do.
Yeah, but no traffic in front.
Yeah, I mean,
NHL
goal that needs to be made, but at least it's encouraging from Dylan Cousins.
Yeah, getting his 10th goal of the season. On pace for close to 20. Better. I'm not sure. I can't remember how many he had last year, but obviously nowhere near the pace he was 2 years ago. But again, like I defensively, there are a couple guys that, when Clifton blew up Roslovic in front of the net, man, I almost got up out of my seat. I'm like, oh yeah, that's the type of stuff I've been looking for from all of our defensemen this season. Like Owen Powers,
but in that spot it was a penalty. So
yeah, I know. Well, no, not that play. There was another play. There was another play. He blew up
in the third period.
Yeah, he stepped up on him and he blew him up. I know what you're talking about. It was the interference call. But I'll take that, man. I will literally take that. Like, just defend your crease. Show teams that you're not when you're on the ice, that's not going to happen. And that's been a consistency with Connor Clifton. Is he's legitimately the only guy defensively that goes out there and plays a heavy game, below those dots, and doesn't allow guys just to stand there next to him and have their way and screen his goaltender. And it drives me nuts that he's the only guy that does it. And I love that. Was one of my favorite moments from this game. It's just blows up Roslovic in front of the net.
I'm not going to stand for any Rasmus Dahlin slander, especially calling him a sexist nickname. I think you need to refocus your issues with this team if you're going to complain about Rasmus Dahlin. I think you saw what the team was when he wasn't playing for 13 straight games. So, he might have had an off night, but I think he's the last person you could probably complain about on this team, aside from UPL, at least recently. So not going to stand for that. Keep the comments coming if you'd like to, but it's just not going to sit well with me. So
no, it's fine.
I
get it.
I'm going to put my foot down on that one.
No, I agree with you. Like when they're in the 13-game losing streak, he was sorely bad.
It's a different team without him. And if you put Rasmus Dahlin on, basically, I mean, he's already a superstar on this team, but if you put him on any other team in the league, I think he's way closer to Cal McCarr and Quinn Hughes than he is at this moment. So, he is the wrong person to complain about.
Yeah. From Chris Derrick, good to see you doing okay, Connor. Staying LA strong. I have many mixed emotions about the game and this team. They don't get it. You cannot stop playing at any point during the game. It's unacceptable.
Yeah. It's just kind of like we said, and I appreciate it. Thankfully, I'm over by the airport, which is about 5 miles south of where the fires were. Air quality was pretty bad throughout the week, and got a lot of close friends who lost everything out here. So I appreciate that, and we're doing everything we can to support them and help rebuild. It's pretty devastating what happened here in the past week. So just going to do whatever we can to help out. But I'm safe, I'm sound, everything's good. And this team is mind-bogglingly frustrating when it comes to having any type of composure. They lack composure. They panic. They do everything that we saw in the Seattle game on Saturday. You get a 2-goal lead against a team that has the same record with you going into that game, and they score 6 straight goals. It's the equivalent of what the Broncos did against the Bills on Sunday. Score an early touchdown and then give up 31 points. Yeah. It's just unacceptable as any professional team, no matter where you are, no matter how young you are in any spot. You can't use any type of excuse other than you lack any sense of composure or confidence whatsoever. And they don't. And that's why they're going to miss the playoffs, because they've done this way too many times this season. And even though they won a game tonight against one of the best teams in the league, they weren't at their best, given that they had pretty much an AHL goalie in that. And as we said, if any other goalie plays, they probably win that game. So I mean, I'm happy. Obviously, you at least keep yourself in the conversation, but we've been proven right or wrong, depending on your perspective, too many times this season to feel any type of inspiration or confidence moving forward until they win 4 games in a row. I'm not going to believe it. I'm really not. I've done this too many times this season, and each time they've tried to win that 4th game in a row, they haven't been able to.
They lost their last game, right? From Natalie Payne, it seems you're feeling. Yes, I am feeling much better today, Natalie. First day I've actually felt from start to finish. I mean, I still got a slight cough, but I definitely feel better. So thank you. I appreciate your guys' concern, especially
Not many of you knew when we had Sean McIndoe on last night. Well, we recorded Monday night. We aired it yesterday. But, like, I was hanging by a thread in that interview, Connor. Absolutely hanging by a thread. Yeah, I had the worst migraine. I think that was, like, kind of like the very end of it. Slept like a baby that night, thankfully. But yesterday felt much better, but this is the best I felt. I haven't had the flu since sophomore year of college. I remember it was our last practice of the season. And we had like 7 a.m. practices at leisure. And I show up and like, I don't know if you've ever had the flu, Connor, but like your whole body aches and you're just like, you just can't move. You can't barely talk. Like I'm sitting in the locker room and I'm like, I fell asleep. The whole team is on the ice and I'm full equipment, sleeping in the locker room. And Billy Orr, our defensive coach, comes up in the locker room and just screams at me, Steinau, what are you doing? He's like, what are you, drunk? And I'm like, no, I'm good. And I run, because we had an upstairs locker room, I had to run down the stairs with full equipment. Went out on the ice, took 2 shots, sat in the corner the rest of the practice. It was kind of like a very free-flowing practice. We didn't make playoffs. So it was just kind of just like one last skate together. And I'm just like, I took 2 shots and just took a knee and just sat there the rest of the practice. But that was the last time I had the flu. I don't ever get sick, but this winter has been very different. I've been sick like 4 times. Yeah. But thank you for all those people who did reach out while we were still going live. I didn't want to leave you guys hanging. So from Josh Dolan, 6-3-1 last 10. That pace the rest of the way gets us 89 points. Does that get you in this year feeling just a small amount of positive today? I don't know.
89 probably does, honestly.
It does? Okay.
Mm-hmm. But I have no confidence that they can play at that pace the rest of the season.
No way. We talked about it with Sean. It's just like Kevin Adams is most likely the guy the rest of the season. What terrifies me is that he's going to be making major roster decisions come the deadline. I know Jason Zucker kind of came out and said that he'd love to stay in Buffalo, but you want to know who else once said they'd love to stay in Buffalo and then did it? Taylor Hall. On a season that's going in a very similar direction that year that it is this year. And you don't have a franchise center in Jack Eichel. You just don't. Tage Thompson is not Jack Eichel. I don't know. How close to the wild card do they need to be come deadline for them to be buyers, not sellers, Connor? Like how many points?
I think 6. Within 3 games, right? Like as we said, they haven't proven they can win 3 games more than 3 games in a row. So if you're not within 3 games, if you're not within 3 regulation wins or an overtime win at that point in the season with a month and a half left, like how can you have a realistic expectation that they could go on a run so when's the trade deadline? In early March? Mm-hmm. So that would mean that there's probably 20 games left, maybe less than that. How could you have a realistic expectation they could suddenly change the way that they've played or change their level of consistency and composure and finally win 4 or 5 games in a row to get back in the conversation? I think as an organization, you can't expect that given what you've seen thus far. They've proven time and time again that they're not that group, that they don't have the capability to do that over a consistent stretch of the season. And therefore, the best thing would be to not let guys go for free in the offseason. Obviously, I think Zucker's high character enough. He's been around the league for a long time. He seems like a really good dude, well liked in the locker room. That, of course, he said these things, that he wants to be in Buffalo, that he would love to be. He loves the play style because he's a good dude. And I respect him for saying that. But at the same time, he wasn't going to say, yeah, I'm open to it. That's just not who he is at this point in his career. Kyle Okposo last season was a different situation. He knew that it was his last season, and Kevin Adams did him a favor by trading him to the Panthers, who eventually won the cup. This is a different situation.
I don't know. For me, what Jason, I loved it. I think he's good for this team. He's good for this roster.
I would love to keep him.
It depends on how much term he's looking for and how much money.
He turns 33 next week, I think. So
if he's looking for like a 5-year deal,
can't be any more than that. I would do 2 to 3. 2 to 3 at 4 to 5 million, maybe. I think he's proven that he's the type of guy that can play into his mid-30s, just with his play style and how long he's been around the league with relatively consistent production, aside from Nashville and Arizona the past couple of years. So yeah, I mean, I really would like to keep him. He's the type of guy that the youngest team in the league. God, if I hear that on a national or away broadcast one more time, I'm gonna lose my mind. But given that is the perception of the Sabres around the league, it's the type of guy you need. And yes, they are the youngest team in the league, but it's a collection of guys that were rushed into roles because they didn't have anybody else. So, yeah, I mean, I'd love to, but if they're not 6 to 7 points out in late February, early March, I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah. So SoCal strong, LA strong, Hurls leadership, integrity is valued. Red Rocket stands tall.
Appreciate that.
Yeah,
no pool time at this moment.
No pool parties.
Not only because it's high 30s, but because it is a disaster zone.
Yeah.
So, it's pretty wild what happened.
If you want to post to your friends, GoFundMe too. Connor did have a friend, close friend.
Thankfully, he's reached more than his goal, and they shut it down because.
Oh, they did? Okay.
A lot of people have also posted GoFundMes that haven't quite reached their goal, and they've linked to those ones, which I'm probably going to find a link to in the post. But there's. I mean, if you want to help, given the nature of this disaster and how unique it is, there's so many good ways to do it. The Red Cross, obviously, doing great work. There's firefighter funds. There's a lot of, especially in Altadena. Altadena is a different situation than the Palisades. The Palisades is a largely incredibly wealthy neighborhood. Those families, as sad as it is, they will be able to rebuild, whereas Altadena isn't nearly as fortunate. And it's a historically Black community just north of Pasadena, actually. And it's a lot of families that are going to struggle to gain some semblance of their way of life that they had before this. So looking into anything like that would be super helpful. And I'm sure those people really, really appreciate it. So that's where I'm trying to focus my efforts now.
Yeah. And like I said, just, it's not hard to be a good human being. Anything helps. $1, $2, $5, $10, like anything helps.
Even just sharing stuff too.
Exactly. If you can't afford it, share it. And please just ignore the nonsense on social media.
I haven't looked at one thing just because it's not worth it.
Yeah.
And it's people who are miserable, who have nothing but time on their hands to go online and hide behind a screen and say things about a place that they've never been to and people that they don't know. So for me, it's not even worth it. It's like the Ravens fans people are complaining about online. It's not worth my time or energy, and I don't think it's worth any of your guys' either.
No, it's not.
It's immature. It's stupid.
Any chance anyone could put a political spin on something, they will, and it's annoying. It's not hard to be a decent human being and just have empathy.
Miserable, boring people with nothing else to do.
Yeah,
so I'm not going to pay them any mind.
No. So we do have a question here from Michael Meyer. Shout out this guy, Mike Meyer. I feel like there is nothing new to say about this team anymore. LOL. Who are we armchair GM targeting at the deadline? Do we think Kevin Adams will do anything meaningful? I sadly foresee him trading Zucker. If here's the thing, I guess I just thought I would like to keep Zucker, but if he's not willing to sign an extension by deadline, you trade him. You trade him 10 times out of 10, twice on Sunday. You trade him. You do not make the same mistake you made with Linus Ullmark, because Linus Ullmark, peddled the same crap. I'm not saying what Zucker is saying is that he's not serious, but if he's not willing to sign an extension by the deadline, you need to trade him. And if you don't, you shouldn't be a National Hockey League general manager.
Yeah, I think that's not a bad way to look at it. I think generally his intentions are probably good. And like we said, it really depends upon where they are. The month of February this year is a little bit strange, given the Four Nations tournament. There is an Olympic-style break in the middle of February. So honestly, where they are when that tournament starts could be how they look at their decision-making, and having that much time off to talk to other GMs who aren't really doing anything either as that tournament goes on. So and that tournament could also change things around the league. I think it's going to be highly competitive. I think these teams are actually going to want to win. I would at least hope, given that it's a tune-up for the Olympics next year. Yeah, so there could be injuries. There could be a variety of things that change just because of that tournament, which could change the outlook of the trade deadline as well. So I think it's a wait-and-see situation. But as of now, in the room, you put the standings up and you go out there each night and try to win each game. I really do hope that they're taking it one game at a time. You go to Pittsburgh on Friday. They just waived Tristan Jerry. They're bringing up Blankfist from the AHL, or I think they might even be giving him more time. But regardless, that's a winnable game against a team that has largely struggled this season as well.
Yeah.
So one game at a time, try to go on a little run, prove us wrong. That's honestly the only thing the Sabres can do for this jaded fan base at this moment. Just prove everybody wrong. Same with the Bills on Sunday being a home underdog in the playoffs. You just got to ignore what people are saying, keep tight in your room, and just try to prove everybody wrong. Because if you do the same things that you've been doing, you're going to prove everybody right.
Yep. Sorry, buddy. Comments from the team after the game from Brian Cousins. We obviously had to make it interesting and nerve-wracking, but we got it done. It was key putting pucks behind them. Cousins said that they were more aggressive and assertive and played with confidence tonight. For 40 minutes, you did. Cousins on finishing the game, you get nervous, especially when they have that kind of pressure. We had a meeting. If we give one up, keep the confidence, and we found a way. McLeod says he has no idea if he was able to touch the puck before his stick was broken on the empty net chance. But he was the closest guy to the puck, I feel like, and he would have been the guy to sweep into the empty net. I feel like
a rule.
Like as a goalie, I think the rule is if you're caught out of position and you throw your stick at an opposing player, even if they don't have control of the puck, I think it's automatically a goal.
God,
I think that's the rule. And it goes.
I also had Tage to score a goal tonight, and I was also just paid out for that.
So you got paid out for both.
Yeah.
Dude, you better get that into your account immediately.
No, it is. It's technically there. I don't know how they would take it away. I wouldn't
know. I just wouldn't give them the chance to.
I don't know. No, but I can't cash out. That's the thing.
Okay.
I don't know.
I don't know how that stuff works.
I don't know my bookie personally. I'm gonna just screenshot it and be like, the evidence was there. So I think this is a good example of the NHL again having no idea what they're doing and just taking situations as they come. I said to my friends earlier, I picture someone calling Gary and him being like, "How the fuck am I supposed to know?"
Yeah.
I don't know. This has never happened before.
This has got to be a first, right? In the history of the NHL over 100 years. This is got to be a first.
Or he just be like, "You figure it out." And then they just
figure it out. I don't know. I don't got time for this.
Yeah, they just award it to both guys. He's just like, "I'm finding another way to get Chicago in the Winter Classic next year."
Too busy doing that. McLeod said the message was to stay calm, and they've been talking about these situations, and it helped get the win tonight. UPL, it was a big one for us. We defended well. We were boxing out well. We were taking care of rebounds. UPL in the standings. Right now, we have dug our own hole. No one is going to help us. It's up to us now, and it's in our hands now. This is the hole we've dug for ourselves. I don't know how many more times you can say the same thing in one.
I mean, keep digging the point.
Yeah. From Lindy, we called our time out and said we got to go. I told them we've talked about it. Just go. Lindy says that the goal at the end of the second period was a big goal for them. Yeah, those late goals at the end of a period can be backbreaking. But again, no lead is safe for the Buffalo Sabres. They could have been winning 6-0 going into the third period, and I'm not comfortable at all. So,
yeah, they've proven us right and wrong too many times this season to have any sense of comfortability, not only in a game like that, but to make any type of run moving forward. But we shall see. Inspire a tiny bit more confidence with a road win on Friday in Pittsburgh, where they at least have played well recently.
Mm-hmm. I agree. We do have one new viewer in the chat. I just want to give them a shout out. Saber F4I. I don't know if there's any. I don't know. I'm watching the game now. I'm sick and tired of these no-look drop passes. I've seen no less than 8 tonight. 3 of them which were intercepted. I couldn't agree with you more. We talked about it earlier, but thanks for popping in, guys. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please make sure you subscribe, especially if you're watching on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell icon so you know when we go live. And please like these videos. Like them twice if you can. Anyway means.
Well, if both Tage and Ryan McLeod can score on the same play,
you can find
theoretically you could like a video twice.
Yeah, figure it out. It helps us with the algorithm, helps us monetize this thing that is the Sabres. One of the only real Sabres post-game shows out there. We have cornered the market, and we will continue to do so. So we appreciate you guys. I always make a point of it to say this at the end of every episode. Appreciate the community we built here, and all of you who always tune in on this weird 6 o'clock start time, for TNT. But most of you are still here again, and appreciate it, and appreciate you. So please make sure, if you're not subscribed, subscribe on YouTube. You can follow us on Twitter at Duane S39, at Hurls13, at 2 Goalies 1 Mike. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram as well. And if you're an audio-only listener, all you got to do is check us out on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. We're all there. Just search out 2 Goalies 1 Mike, and make sure you subscribe. Just remember, this is brought to you by Fatty Beer Company, Western New York's premier market and tap room with over 300 beers to choose from at all of their locations. Whether it's your happy hour for after a long day of work, your trivia, your live music, they have everything over at Fatty Beer. Make sure you go check out this Sunday's. Is it 8 p.m. start?
3:30 Pacific, so 6:30 Eastern.
Oh, it's a 6:30. I'm sorry. Yeah, 6:30 start time. If you want to catch the Bills game, great vibes at Fatty Beer Company. And they have great drink specials. Make sure you let them know 2 Goalies 1 Mike sent you. And of course, Buffalo Logo apparel. Whether it's your shirts, your hats, your hoodies, they have everything over at Buffalo Logo. You can find them at Buffalo Logo Co. on Instagram and Twitter. Yeah, Fatty Beer at Fatty Beer on Instagram and Twitter, fattybeer.com, buffalogo.com. Any final thoughts, Hurls?
As you said, a win is a win, despite the panic, despite blowing almost a 3-goal lead again in the third period. I think they need to do whatever they possibly can to remedy that situation, whether it's a confidence thing or it's a system thing, or if it's just the players trying harder. I don't know. At this point in the season, again, they need to prove us wrong. They need to go out there, take each game at a time. I know it's so cliche, but that's all they can do at this point, because if they look ahead of any situation, if it's not just in game or even past a game, they're probably going to lose that next game. Mm-hmm. So at this point, hopefully put some of these good goaltending performances from UPL to use, and maybe get an off James Reimer performance here and there as well, because he's getting a lot of rest. So maybe even Devin Levi can come up. Levi, shout out. That's pretty cool for him. And
what'd you say?
AHL All-Star Devin Levi.
That's right.
So that's a not an accomplishment to sneeze at, and I think it's really, really good for his development as well, as he's played down there, and he's had a couple spot starts here as well. So who knows if they'll need him, but a win's a win. We'll see you on Friday in Pittsburgh.
See you on Friday in Pittsburgh. And as always, everybody, go Sabres.